Good afternoon, everyone. It's now 1 o'clock here, and we do have a special session meeting with for the Board of Supervisors. And so I will now call the meeting to order, and I would like to have the supervisors introduce themselves. District 1,
District 1, Patrice Horseman, good to be here.
District 2,
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeronimo Vasquez, Supervisor District 2.
District 3,
Good afternoon, Adam Hess, District 3.
District 4, Judy, I'm here. District 5, can't hear you. District 5, okay, now I'm going to ask the board to resolve as a flood control board of directors. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
A motion made by Supervisor Horseman,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Hess. I may have so therefore we have a flood control district action item. Lucinda,
And all those in favor?
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries. Now we're at the flood control district action item. We'll give the floor to Mr. Burleson.
Thank you, Chair Brigade, members of the board. And with that, I will turn it to Flood District Administrator Lucinda Andriani and Deputy County Manager. Lucinda.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Andy, and good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. First, I want to thank you. I know you're on your summer break and appreciate you taking the time to do what we expect to be a quick meeting. As you recall, we had a executive session on this topic prior to your departure on vacation, and so you have a lot of the background information and understanding relative to why we're here today. And we had a discussion about the Peaceful Way. This involves the Peaceful Way Flood Corridor, which is one of 4 projects that we've secured funding for through the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And we've now completed projects in 3 of those 4 corridors with Peaceful Way remaining. As you're aware, we have a property owner that owns 2 properties in the area that are both, we have been attempting to seek a drainage easement from over the last, or probably now over 6 months, trying to work through that with them and reach agreement. And we have been unable to. We've received communication from their attorney indicating that they don't want to negotiate with us. So to that end, we're here today to have you consider a resolution 2024-02. I just want to say, I think that this resolution will provide staff and our attorneys with some options in terms of working with this party. And one of those options, of course, is condemnation. And I want to say that first, I want to say that this is, as you well know, and you have understood, and prior boards have understood, these projects that we're proposing are public safety projects. These aren't, I'll say, just flood mitigation. These are public safety. People's lives are at risk in this area. And I think that gives you a good understanding about why basically throughout the rest of this corridor, we have support and have secured drainage easements, strong support in this corridor for this project. People understand that threat to their lives. They understand the threat to their properties, and remain anxious for the district to move ahead with what we believe is a very well-designed project that will provide significant flood mitigation for this area. Won't mitigate every event, rainfall event, but it'll have a significant positive impact in this area based upon what they've experienced historically. So with that, I'll turn it over to John Gaylord and or Andrew McGuire, our attorneys, if they have any other information they would like to add. And then, of course, we're going to ask for your consideration of this resolution today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucinda, and Chair Begay and members of the board. Thank you for convening under such a short time and for your attention to this. I think the main thing, we're here for questions. The main thing that I would point out, just as we adopt this, is, or as you consider adopting this, is that this isn't authorization just to go ahead and condemn. This is authorization to acquire the property by purchasing it, by condemnation, or by accepting a donation or a dedication. So by adopting this, I don't think you'd be closing the book on hopefully a mutually agreeable resolution here. The first step, if you do take this action and provide this authorization, you would be authorizing staff to go ahead and file a condemnation action if necessary. There are some requirements before we get there, and one of those requirements is that we do have to, as a precursor to filing condemnation, we have to make a formal offer to purchase the property. And then we have to give them 30 days to think about that. And so that would be the next step. And, I think it's everybody's hope that it would resolve that way. So I wanted to point that out. I think that's important that, we're not closing the door on anything. And other than that, I think, unless Andrew has something that he would like to add, I think we're just here for your questions if you have them.
I have nothing further to add. Thanks, John.
Any other comments by the presenters? Okay, so this particular item was consideration possible action to approve flood control district resolution 2024 authorizing the acquisition of real property in the Peaceful Wave flood corridor for public use by purchase, dedication, condemnation pursuant to ARS 38-43103A 3, 4, and 7. The board may vote to hold an executive session for discussion and consultation for legal advice. I just want to make sure that I put that in there. Otherwise, I want to thank Lucinda for making doing the presentation, and also Mr. Gaylord. Are there any comments by the board? Horseman.
Yes, and I just want to indicate, as you did, Chair, that we have received information on this, quite a bit of information on this, and as was outlined by our flood control district director, it really is, this particular property is essential for public health and safety as part of a flood mitigation project in the Peaceful Way corridor. It's essential for the neighbors that live there. It's essential for the individual property owners that we're talking about, quite frankly, to be able to safely continue to live in this neighborhood. And I know we've looked at other options. This seems, again, to be the best and most complete way to ensure the health and safety as part of this flood mitigation project. I am certainly hopeful that by proceeding with this resolution, that the county will be able to negotiate to acquire the property from the property owners with an offer of a purchase price. So I'm certainly hopeful that this can be resolved peacefully, in peaceful way, and certainly look forward to a successful conclusion and moving forward with this important flood mitigation project. So those are my comments. I know this is in Supervisor Vasquez's district, so he may have some comments as well.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. As was stated, we've been looking at this, and we know that we need these projects moving forward. We've already lost a lot of time in waiting to see if we can get to this point. Hopefully this resolution will help us with that and allow us to move promptly with these projects, because the community, for the well-being of the community out there, this acquisition needs to happen one way or another. And so we're hoping that it's in a good way. We're hoping that we can get a purchase price and it's fair for everybody. But we also know that this is a public safety issue and we need to make this happen. And so I'm in favor of this resolution and moving forward, and hope to see these projects moving forward soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Any other comments by the board? Supervisor Fowler?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Before the next action is taken, so we do this resolution, and so then you decide to, whatever that is negotiated, either purchase or just, does it come back to the board before you take that action? And then I want to see how much is well, I guess you don't know how much it's going to cost, but do we have the budget for it? So that would be, those two would be my question right now.
Go ahead, Mr. Gaylord.
He's discussed the process, and then I'll come back and talk about the budget.
Chair and Supervisor Fowler, as written, we would not necessarily come back to the board again before the next step. As written, you're authorizing us to go forward and make an offer on the property and try to purchase it. And if we're not successful at that, you're offering us to go ahead, you're authorizing us, sorry, not offering, authorizing us to go ahead and file a condemnation action in court without coming back to you. As far as the price would be the appraised value of the property. And we do not have the final appraised values of each, and it would be, you know, we've discussed before, and I don't want to get too technical into it, but as you know, looking at the exhibits here, and as we've discussed in the past, there's a property that the district would purchase, and then there are property interests, which are easements that the district would be trying to acquire, and those would have different appraised values. The easements would be cheaper than the property itself. We don't have all the final appraisals done, and so I can't give you an exact answer on how much we will be offering out to resolve this. But that'll be it, right? It'll be the appraised fair market value of these properties.
Thank you. Lucinda?
Just one
In
other
terms of-
quick follow-up. Sorry, Lucinda. One quick follow-up. If there is an acquisition to be made, that would then come back before the board. If there is a condemnation, won't see it necessarily until the conclusion of the condemnation. But if there's a settlement agreement or an acquisition or a dedication, all of those.
That's right. Your supervisor, or sorry, board member Fowler, you'll see this before it's concluded. But as to, you know, your question as far as the next step, no. The next step being either making the offer, and then if the offers are not accepted in 30 days, filing a condemnation action. Those are the things that would not come back. That's what you're authorizing us to do. But to conclude the whole story and finalize our acquisition of these parcels, right, as Andrew said, that would come back to you.
And relative to the budget, we have done appraisals, you know, what we call preliminary appraisals in terms of securing drainage easements. Now we're actually going to potentially acquire some of this property, at least some through, again, as Andrew mentioned, some as easements, some as fee title likely. And so those will moderate, but I built into the budget the money to fund this acquisition if it came to this. So we do have the budget.
Okay, so Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
so I'm just wondering, what is what are some of the deadlines that we have to meet, and this is the reason why we have to take this action now?
Yeah, the number one deadline is that the funding from NRCS, we're likely only going to get one more year of extension. In fact, I'm applying for that extension right now. I just provided them with a detailed timeline, which they requested. And to be able to meet that timeline to get the project done by the end of July next year, we need to move it forward now, or we won't meet that deadline. And therefore we lose that funding. So funding is at risk if we don't move ahead now.
And if I could add, Lucinda, to Board Member Fowler's question, I think as far as timing, you know, the district has been, and Lucinda mentioned this at the beginning of this, her presentation, you know, the district has been working with property owners throughout this corridor for some time now. And the communication that the district received this week from this property owner, that's the subject of the owner of the property subject to this resolution, is not time-based. What they said is, after much consultation and consideration, they have determined to respectfully decline the district's request for a grant of easement, and they have also respectfully declined to convey any portion of the aforementioned real property to the district for any flood control improvements. And so staff at least is reading that as being kind of a final answer, not a right now or let's talk about it more. They've said no. And so you know, we're not trying to cut off discussions or anything, but we read their letter as a final answer. And so, you know, we're not really rushing anything. We've waited and that's how we interpret what they've told us.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, so this would be the last property that we have a concern about. Then we'll be able to do the project thereafter. We won't have to down the line take another action for another property. This is the final property.
There are two other properties who have said they will sign when this property does, and it has to do with some associated easements. They have consistently been extremely supportive of the project. So I don't expect that. They will, because those easements that they hold access easements to the forest. Those easements are also actually part of this action, as we had discussed prior. And so it's all wrapped up in this action. So this should be the only action. All the rest of the corridor, we've secured the easements.
Okay, I just remember, I mean, we've been at this conversation for some time. I just wanted to kind of summarize where we've been.
It is somewhat
we are.
complicated because there's the drainage easement and then there's these access easements, so it is complicated.
Yeah, so, all right, well, thank you. I think it's very important for the public to know a little bit more, and that we're just not taking action, that we've had several presentations and even did a tour, be able to understand where we're at as a board. So thank you, appreciate the explanation.
And you know, we do not, this board, this county, this district has never taken condemnation lightly. This is only the second time we've ever done this.
Yeah.
And I think the counties, maybe only, I'm trying to remember, Public Works Director, maybe we did it one other time. So we do not take this lightly, and I remained hopeful, frankly, until we got the letter that we would be able to reach agreement, but we have not. And but we still have a very strong commitment from this corridor to move ahead with the public safety project. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members that would wish to make comments? I just want to say we've been talking about this issue for some time now and trying to ensure that we don't lose the funding, and that we want to make sure that, you know, the projects are carried through to the best of the ability due to health and safety reasons for the people that live in District 1. So I just want to say thank you. I guess we'll go ahead and may I have a motion to approve Flood Control District Resolution 2024-02 and substantially the form and substance presented here today, authorizing the acquisition of real property in the Peaceful Wave Flood Corridor for public use by purchase, dedication, or condemnation.
So moved.
A motion been made by Supervisor Vasquez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Horstman. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. May I have a motion to resolve back as a Board of Supervisors?
So moved.
So moved. A second.
Yes. Okay, motion's been made and a second's been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries. So at this time, the meeting will be adjourned. Thank you, supervisors, for being in
Thank you
attendance.
very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.